Kia ora everybody. Can you believe it? This is week 6 and the last video that I'm going to be presenting for Kai from the Kitty Kitchen. Can't believe it, these weeks have just flown by. I really hope you've had some good tips and tricks and advice and you're using them in the kitchen and enjoying cooking, because that's what it's all about, and at the same time saving money. Now, the last video, it's quite apt because we're talking about overcoming cooking hurdles. So we've talked about meal planning, we've talked about trying to make it easier during the week for you, but we all have those nights where we get back and we just can't be bothered and everything goes out the window. But rather than reaching for the phone and ordering a takeaway, I've got some really cool ideas for you tonight to overcome those hurdles. So first of all, most of us will have dried pasta in the cupboard. Dried pasta, super simple. Pop it into boil, it's ready in minutes. And then what you can do is you can make your own sauces to go with that. So most people will have a can of tomatoes, fry off some onions and garlic, chuck the tomatoes in with it, maybe some tomato paste if you've got some, give it a stir, add some dried herbs like basil or oregano or whatever you feel like, and a bit of salt and pepper. Very simple sauce, but poured over the top of your pasta. It's an instant dish, and of course you wouldn't have a pasta dish without some parmesan on top, so you can always add that on, or any cheese that you might have. But really, really simple. And then if you have leftover meat as well, you can even chop that up and put that in there, so you can add some cooked chicken, if you've got some leftover sausages, anything really. Pasta's just such a good go-to. Now the next one is free meals. Now we've been talking about making food and not having any waste. So if you do have some meals in the freezer that you do have left over from other weeks, well, there you go. Don't go takeaway. Go to your freezer, pop it out, defrost it and heat it up, and bang, you've saved your money already. Now, the other thing I really think is a great idea for a quick meal is if you have some wraps in your cupboard, and most people have tortillas in their cupboard, you can make quesadillas. Quesadillas are fantastic. They're so easy. Now, a lot of people will put one quesadilla on the bottom and one on top, but I've learned a bit of a hack recently, and that is you can just fold the quesadilla in half, and then when you go to flip it over, everything doesn't go everywhere and fall out of it. And you can just pop those. You can either make them with any filling that you like. There is actually a recipe down below, the link down here, so make sure you check that out. But you can do them in the oven or you can do them in the frying pan. Again, such an easy meal to make, and it feels like you're having takeout because it's a quesadilla, eh? Now, the last recipe that I'd like to discuss with you is actually, it's such a time saver. It's for when I come back home and I can't be bothered, I don't know what I've got, so I'm like, okay, let me just go to the fridge. I go to my fridge and I see what I've got left over, and this really truly is such an easy dish to do. You go to your veggie drawer, what have I got? It's a frittata. So what we're going to do tonight is I'm actually going to make a frittata, show you how to use it. Really important to use an oven-proof frying pan because we are going to pop it under the grill to finish off at the end. But if you've got eggs, you've got leftover veggies, and you've got cheese, you've got a meal. So we're going to make that tonight, and I'll show you what I had left in my fridge and what I'm going to use for my frittata. So in my fridge, I had some mushrooms, I had half of a capsicum, I had tomato, I had some jalapenos. I love jalapenos, so I added those. I had some broccoli that was left over from being in my cup of water, keeping it fresh for longer, so that lasted ages. And then we have onion and garlic, and I'm going to fry those off first. We're going to add all this to it with some eggs, and at the end we're going to sprinkle some cheese over the top. So we're going to go over to the stove now, and I'll show you how to do it. All right, so what we're going to do now is I've got the oil heating up in the pan, and it is an oven-proof pan. I'm going to add in the onion, and I'm going to add in the garlic, and we're just going to let that fry off for a little bit. These pans are great. It's a little bit of onion skin there, I don't want that. These pans are great. They're cast iron, enamel coated, and they're just fantastic for using on the stovetop or in the oven. Alright, so we're just going to let that cook down a little bit, and then we're going to add in the rest of the veggies. Alright, so the onion and garlic's been cooking down. I'm just going to add in some of my mushrooms, and I'm going to add in some of the capsicum. That can all go in. And then we're just going to put a few bits and pieces of the broccoli. That can all go in too. And we're just going to let that cook down for a little while, they will sort of reduce and shrink in size as they heat up. So we're just going to let them cook through, and then we'll come back in a minute. Alright, so that's now been cooking down. I quite like my broccoli with a little bit of bite to it, but you might like it a bit softer, so let it go for longer. But for now I'm going to add my eggs. Now I've actually chosen to do 6 eggs, and I've seasoned them before I put them in. So I've put salt and pepper in there, whisked them up, and now I'm just going to pour this into the pan like so. Make sure we get all that egg in there, and then you'll see it's starting to set already around the edges, and I'm just going to let that sit there for a moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add my jalapenos to that now, because they don't actually need to be cooked per se, and this way I can also make sure that they're sort of evenly distributed throughout the frittata as well. So there we go, my yummy jalapenos. You might even want to put pickles in yours, or whatever you feel like. This is a great depends on meal, which is depends on what's in the fridge. Now the other thing that you can add to these if you want to is leftover potato, kumara, pumpkin. As long as it's cooked, you can also add that to the frittata. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to let that heat gently until the egg is almost cooked. I'm actually going to add my tomatoes to the top of it before I put it in the oven, and then I'm also going to sprinkle, and it's generously sprinkle it with cheese over the top, and then we're actually going to pop it under the grill. So I'm just waiting now until that egg is nearly cooked through, and you can see the edges here are really nicely cooked, and it's still going in the middle. So I'm actually happy now to put the tomatoes on. You can see that it's still pretty runny in the middle, but that'll cook through under the grill. So I'm actually going to pop my tomatoes on, and then I'm going to sprinkle my cheese, and then we'll pop it under the grill. Oh, it's smelling good already. There we go, pop my tomatoes on, and now I'm going to be very generous with the cheese. And you can use any cheese you like. You can use Edam. Mozzarella, of course, will come up, you know, quite gooey and stringy and brown. I like to use either Tasty or Edam, something like that. Or just even cheddar cheese is fine too. And now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the heat off. We're going to put our oven-proof dish into the oven under the grill to finish off. Alright guys, so it's time to take it out the oven. Grab my oven gloves, obviously, because this will be very hot, and voila, look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? Beautiful. Tea's sorted. So there we go guys, that's how easy it is. A few veggies that you've got left over in the fridge, as long as you've got eggs and a bit of cheese, you're good to go. Really, really simple meal for when you don't feel like cooking anything extravagant. It's very quick, and you know, everyone can help you do it. Get everyone chopping the veggies, mixing the eggs, etc., and it's done really quickly. So enjoy. I've really, really enjoyed bringing these videos to you. I really hope it's helped you, and yeah, I look forward to seeing other tips and tricks on the Ngā Tangata website, My Money Kitty, in the future. So take care, ka kite.